Welcome everyone to another special edition of the StoryTrade Weekly Meetup. A quick disclaimer first, StoryTrading is not an investment advisor. Investing in securities involves significant risk of loss. This event is being recorded. It's going to be provided to our VIP members exclusively for 1 week. And then it'll be up on social media. Tonight, we got an update on VTSI. But first, what's in a story trade? Story trading is the art of understanding market pricing through the lens of the four pillars of fundamentals, catalysts, sentiment, and technicals. Our app, which is coming out probably in a day or so, will be the place to discover, collaborate, and validate market-moving information through crowdsourced research and social collaboration. You can sign up for the wait list on our website. All right, so VTSI is one of our VIP picks. You can go over to our website, click on VIP picks to see all of them. You'll see VTSI is last trade 1018. It's $110 million market cap. Tonight, we're getting an update from an on-site visit Todd, Goodwin, and James Ticknor had, along with an analysis from Kevin Crawford. Just some stats first. This was initially chosen as a trade of the week idea. I think Ashley Day and myself that week picked it as a trade of the week idea. After that, a lot of people took some interest in it. We eventually invited the CEO to come on, and you can look at the numbers. Since the CEO came on, up 150%, 60% since Kevin Crawford's presentation of story trading, 40% since the story trading update we had on it just a week prior to our Benzinga introduction. So those are you are not familiar. VTSI is in the police and military training sector. I'm not going to do a deep dive into that. Looking at the chart, this is a chart we provided on August 3rd to Story Trading at first, and then it was presented to Benzinga a week later. We broke down the story behind the trade, and you can see pretty much everything on here is explainable. I want to point out the LD micro presentation seemed to have kind of marked the bottom, and it started an ER anticipation run. So what happened here after August 3rd at 718? Here's the chart since then. It's been staircasing its way up. So just want to give you guys some updates on what's going on. Again, we had the continuation of that ER anticipation run occur there at 50% since LD micro. Then Story Trading had a presentation internally where we explained that chart. Then it was introduced to Benzinga a week later. 1 second here. Okay. And then we had earnings a day later. It had a 5-cent EPS, beat the 2-cent estimate, 5.3 million sales, beat 3.79 estimate. Now the stock kind of sold off and consolidated, but that's to be expected after the stock was up 50% heading into earnings. That's a very common trade pattern you see. We call it an ER anticipation run. So after a short period of consolidation, we had some more news, this time on social media. There's a 24.5 million RFP that they won that was on social media. The next day, we saw a 1.4 million order of that 24.5 million come through. There we go. And then Benzinga, we updated Benzinga on those happenings the next day. Then we had 2 PRs right after that, all these green spikes. So company PR to purchase of a larger building, signaling larger manufacturing expectations coming up. And then they PR'd a 24, that social media stuff that people, and then, didn't really know about, they finally PR'd it a few days later. You can see over there. Now, I also want to point out here, similar maybe to that LD micro presentation, which seemed to be a catalyst, they were presenting at Gateway Conference along with one-on-one meetings. And right after that Gateway Conference, the stock shot up. The most recent PR we have is 1.37 million order from new Middle East client. So with that, that's our attempt here to explain the story behind the chart, but the real experts here are our contributors, Todd, Goodwin, and James Ticknor. They went on site to Virtra headquarters. They met the CEO there. So I'm going to invite Todd to come on and take the floor. Todd, the floor is yours. Let us know what you learned.
Cool. Thank you, Ben. And welcome everyone to this exciting episode of Story Trading Sunday night special meeting here. So James and I last Friday, the 24th of September, dropped in and sat with Virtra CEO Bob Ferris, and we had some questions that first I just want to also thank Kevin Crawford for helping me prep for the meeting, since I will in no way say that I am an expert on the research for Virtra. I would say Kevin certainly is, or at least compared to me. So I'm here to give an overview of some of the details of our visit, and James, as a witness to all of that, I would appreciate any you want to jump in anytime you want, and also Kevin as well. Okay, so here's the evidence. You can't really see Virtra too clearly on the glass, but there we were after our meeting with Bob, and overall, I would say it was very. It confirmed a lot of the research that our group has done, and I'll get into the details specifically, but the big picture was, and I think James and I are in agreement here, there's a tremendous amount of potential for what Virtra can do, most likely starting next year, especially as the year goes on. The potential for significant ramping of the revenue next year and in subsequent years is there. So there are a lot of the things that Bob explained to us are very speculative at this point, at least from where we sit. He might already know something, but he didn't let on other than his opinion about certain things. So we feel like the potential is huge. However, nothing or very little of what we discussed is actually confirmed. So I would say at this point, it's still a speculative investment if you're looking for a moonshot kind of financial growth. I think the base business is likely to grow regardless, but we're not in it for 20% annual growth. We're looking for 100% for a couple of years, which is quite possible, but we'd have to see what happens over the next few months. One of the first things we asked about were international opportunities for both law enforcement and military. And Bob said that as far as the police training, the law enforcement, which has been their bread and butter thus far, not in Canada, but domestically, he says the opportunity international for police work is very significant. It's sizable potential. And he said that if you look at it, there's maybe two different types of countries in terms of how the government manages law enforcement. There's the US model, where you have thousands of, or tens of thousands, but you have a lot of different police departments, each of which make their own decisions. And then you have a place, like Canada and Mexico and some other countries where it's centralized, which means while the sales cycle may be longer, potentially, the decision from the top trickles down to all the local municipalities. So, for example, right now Canada has requested proposals for virtual police training, and Virtra, of course, is one of the companies that has provided a proposal for what they can do. And Bob says that the nice thing about a place like Canada is that because they're centralized, assuming they get the deal, then they could deploy, all across the country nearly immediately, or at least when it happens, it will happen very quickly, as opposed to, the Phoenix, like if you're in Arizona, like the Phoenix Police Department, the Scottsdale Police Department, the Tucson Police Department, all of them operate separately. Some might think Virtra's great, the others might not be interested. And so they're really interested in Canada and Mexico, at least in North America specifically. Canada, it's important to notice that the criteria that Canada has set forth for the training aligns beautifully with Virtra's technology and their products. So if you were to go just based on who has the best technology and what's the best fit, they should win. But we also know that sometimes the cheaper option wins, and that's not them. So we'll just have to see. But the potential is there, and obviously there's a snowball possibility with a lot of our allies from a police point of view, because if they get a good reputation in Canada, then other countries might follow suit fairly quickly. Now, we also asked him about a possible national mandate in the United States for police training.
Hey, Todd, real quick,
Yep.
for the Canada contract, have you actually seen the RFP or whatever that went out? I did